After Chainsaw came out, and after I moved out here, I could either go with Warner Brothers and develop Salem's Lot as a feature that I was told, you know, you'll be developing this now, and it probably will never get made, you know. Or I could go with my friend Bill Friedkin, you know, and kind of be under his, you know, under his umbrella at Universal, and so I chose to go at that time with Universal. The Funhouse was brought to me by Derek Powers. Mace Neufeld was going to produce it. I met Larry Block, and I read the script. But I saw a lot of promise in the carnival. I'd always wanted my own carnival. A favorite movie growing up that I would see, like late night old black and white movie on television, was Nightmare Alley with Tyrone Power, and he becomes a carnival geek, and he has this fear about being a geek. May said, "How much did it cost you to make Chainsaw?" And I told him, you know, if it was $60,000 and it did go over budget, it was, you know, $90,000. I said, well, you know, why don't we go out and make a picture for $500,000? I said, well, you know, I bet we couldn't afford the carnival. The carnival is way fascinating me. When I was a little boy and living in East Texas, when the carnival came to town, it was like, and it wasn't just about the rides, it was going there to watch to see the fascinating people that were like, they're like gypsies.
And now, without further ado, I present the Impaler. Oh my God! Is there a doctor in the house? Wait!
I like peeking through the, you know, behind the tents to see what their lives were really like. And, you know, I would kind of go to carnivals to see the carnies. So that fascinated me. There was something really dark and really scary to see a clown at a carnival and you hear that laugh, that tape-recorded loop laugh. It was dangerous.
Come inside and see Daisy May, our two-headed cow.
That really got my attention. It really appealed to me, you know, to have a carnival to shoot in. And then Larry Block was really passionate about this concept that he'd come up with, which was to have a mask on an actual anomaly, that when the mask comes off, you see that it's literally something is worse underneath the mask. And at that particular time, it wasn't like Frankenstein's mask. The film had not been set up yet. It started as an independent movie. So anyway, then Tom Mount, who was president of production at that time at Universal, they all got together and they green-lit it. They said, okay, you know, you guys go make this movie for, I think it was just a little over $2 million. But anyway, at that point, when we went to Universal, then it turned into a Frankenstein mask because Universal owns, you know, the image copyrights to Frankenstein. The big problem was shooting it here and on the Universal lot. Well, actually, it was impossible because of the child's labor laws, which only gave you a couple of hours of nighttime, if that. But on the East Coast, the labor laws and the agreements that Screen Actors Guild had, you could get a waiver and a minor could work all night long. There were certain restrictions. How many hours a day, you know, an 8 or 9-year-old boy who plays a kind of, you know, a principal role. So then we started thinking about East Coast, and then it was a natural, you know, to go to Florida, to go to Miami, because it was in Florida that all the carnivals go on hiatus, and you know, during their break between their, traveling, their tours. And so we could find everything we needed, the real carnival people. We hired an actual carnival, to bring all their stuff in and set it up in the back lot of the Ivan Tour Studios. And this was like maybe the worst time ever to be making a movie in Miami, because this was Scarface days. I mean, this was during the cocaine wars. The city was very hot and about ready to explode and emotionally. We just kept shooting. The Teamsters got into a war amongst themselves. I mean, I don't know what their beef was with one another, and I'd be sitting in my office. It would be in the office complex part of the Ivan Tour studio, and like bam, 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 the windows would blow out, bullets would go zing, zing, whizzing around inside that damn building. I was like, oh, too busy to screw with that, And transportation captain, right after lunch, I'm going back to the set, and I step out, side, close my door, and this kind of shadowy figure of a man scoots, I never saw his face, he scoots out of the transportation captain's office and disappears down a hallway really quickly, and followed by the transportation captain staggering out of the room, bouncing from one wall to the other, and pink foam starts coming out of his mouth, and he's bouncing off, and he holds onto the wall, and he falls over dead. We lost about 3 or 4 days that we had to make up for by reshooting because of this Teamster War thing. After shooting like 2 or 3 days of footage inside the Funhouse that was inside the soundstage, the associate producer, it wrapped at night, and it was convenient for him. He didn't actually know that he wasn't supposed to drive the film, out to the airport to have it sent to Technicolor and out here in Los Angeles. The Teamsters jumped all over him and the production company, and then the next run to the airport, they took the film and they threw it in the ocean. And it never got to LA, it never even saw the airport. It just left the set, and it was some really great stuff that I, said, how in the hell am I ever going to get them there again? It was some really tense stuff, but we reshot it. I love CinemaScope, and I love anamorphic lenses, and this was my chance to really use an anamorphic lens. They're not used much at all anymore, and it's a shame, but it's too time-consuming to light for the anamorphic lens because it's such a thick piece of glass. You have to really blow a hell of a lot of light in to get through that big curved piece of glass because you lose several stops. The spherical flares were wonderful, like the streaks of light across the lens. I hired a production designer that I used on Salem's Lot, and he designed the setup at the carnival. And we were very lucky in finding the big lady on top of the Funhouse, and kind of, gives Beth Berridge the final laugh and look, and cranks down at the end and looks over, and kind of in sync with, with the spirit of the end of the movie and the end of, whatever transition that character is going to go through to live this moment down. And that clown that's bringing Cooper out, almost like the Pieta, and you just see the top of the clown's head and its eyes as it rolls towards him. And those are way creepy. We were way lucky in finding these, probably the first mechanical moving dolls, like the clown and like the Winston Churchill that laughs in the murder scene where the fuse box gets hit Well, those things were like really old. They were like made for the World's Fair in 1906. And we found this shop, and this little old lady was like 90 years old at that time, and she had designed and built those things. And so we rented them from her. That kind of thing that at carnivals that I always found really creepy and scary. I ended up buying most of those things, like the clown and the big egg, the Humpty Dumpty, the Winston, and I bought a whole collection of them.
See a sheep with 6 legs. Yes, 6. Count them yourself. 6 legs. And these are creatures of God, ladies and gentlemen.
Carnies are such a different breed. It really is like what the movie industry's become. I mean, we're kind of gypsies now that travel because we don't shoot films here at home anymore, really. The carnival people were escaped convicts, murderers, inbred in their own little world.
God is watching you.
In reality, I mean, they weren't all that dark, but they were misfits from society.
You will beg for release, but there will be no escape.
So Kevin, playing the Barker, he was hired to do the Funhouse Barker, and he just won the Tony Award on Broadway. And he said, he'll do the part, he'll do it, but under the condition that he gets to play all 3 Barkers. And I thought, wow, hey, that's interesting. If anything, it'll be interesting to see what he does.
All authentic and all alive.
Inside, behind that lovely tent, you're going to see some of the most beautiful girls you've ever seen in your life.
Terrified. Goblins, ghosties, and ghouls.
He's different ages, and so, and he was, and the Funhouse Barker, he plays totally convincingly as a much older man than he really was. I mean, he went into the posture and the body, the attitude, and in his physical behavior, he took on many more years than, say, the Girly Show Barker had, or the almost like biker dude with that was the Freak Show Barker, where they really had the 2-headed cow. And that was an amazing thing, too. We would set out a search for real anomalies, and I couldn't believe it. Here comes a cow that they claim, they're bringing a cow for me to see that has 2 heads. And the thing has 2 heads. Yeah. And then another one with a cleft palate, I started thinking, okay, we need something else in this Freak Show, and we can write this in. And Rick Baker had been working on a creature that was really very different, like actually part animal. He didn't have in the original script the little brother Tad, which was the little formaldehyde fetus, or larger than a fetus, but smaller than a baby. And so I put the cleft palate in that, and I started thinking, okay, ambiguously here, maybe that cow, maybe that it's possible that one of these animals in here could have been Mom. And it was hinted at, and my feelings even about it was ambiguous. I kind of wanted to really not know myself, actually, who the mother of that thing was. But I figured whatever it was something not quite human. Anyway, so I had Rick make the little fetus baby based on having actually scored this cow with a cleft palate. And so that's why then, the creature took on this split head, and the head had separated, so it put the eyes way apart. I thought if I could make this thing more spider-like, like smaller, but move faster, move in these kind of insane ways. I didn't know where the hell to get that, and so in Miami, at nights we would, in prepping, we'd, great clubs in Miami, you know, great entertainment, you know, bars, restaurants, and I was at a place with you know, a party of some of the film crew, and there was a mime artist in there. His name was Wayne Doba, and he was doing these incredible movements, mime movements, and I, you know, that's it. You know, get a mime artist because they can move. I mean, that's what they do. And I can also use him for something else if I need to. It's like he's one of the stuffed dummies actually that starts stabbing the knife. So Wayne got that part, and I really understood that moment, like the reveal, you know, and the freak out when the Barkers, you know, had his stash of money stolen because the nitwit son who you never understood the value of a dollar, did you, boy? There's something in it that I'm really proud of having for like one moment in time, having probably the grandest camera crane shot probably in any movie. You know, when the boy is watching the Funhouse close down and he turns around and the camera pulls up and it drifts out over, you know, up and over things that you wonder, how the hell did they get the camera up there? The transportation found this industrial crane that was used only one time in a movie, but it was 150 feet long and it had, you know, it telescoped out hydraulically. It had, you know, 3 sections of 50 feet, you know, each that telescoped back into, you know, 150. And that's how the shot was done. And then it kept telescoping. It was incredibly smooth and really it looked dangerous to ride on. So, you know, Andy Laszlo, the DP, took the first ride on it by himself. And just, you know, to check things out. And that was in the daytime before we ever put a camera on it. And he went up and up and up in the air, and he's in this caged in this basket. And he goes, wait, you know, I'm looking, wait not anxious to go up there, because he goes up over the Ferris wheel, you know, it's much taller than anything. And then he comes back down and he says, I've got to have this on every film I ever do. And so anyway, we used that twice, you know, 2 shots. The ending shot and then that shot. Operating a big carnival with hundreds of extras. It's really hell to get that many extras and that many machines going at one time. You have to start that one, you know, and a lot of stuff has to go into gear and then before you say action. There's a scene where central characters go behind a tent to get stoned, and they smoke a joint or they light it up, and there's a moment where Beth Berridge is there and she looks around and the camera moves in and the lighter keeps going out. Shooting that scene, I probably shot it, I don't know, maybe you made 8 takes, something like that, because I was just looking for a kind of blocking and body language to sell an emotional feeling. And the rides keep going, and it's so loud I can't really hear what the actors are saying. And then look up to this Cobra ride that you can, that's, you know, this one of these like octopus-like rides that has arms that goes around. And then inside that, the gondolas themselves spin around. And it's going around like this big spider. The kind of ride that you max out on totally in 4 minutes, but like 20 minutes would like blow your mind. And we look up there, me and DP and me and Andy Laszlo, and realize that the first AD hasn't stopped the machines for the past 30 minutes. And this thing's full of extras. The first thing that tipped us off, I started hearing screaming under the din of the machinery and the nature of the scream. It wasn't just a thrill scream, it was something that there was something pleading about it. And then I think it turned into begging. And it was just exploding like almost like a water sprinkler, you know, with vomit and, you know, God only knows what, those poor people. I'm telling you, they shut the machine down. Of course, they couldn't walk, any of them. I mean, they were so twisted around. Oh, man. The ambulance, you know, I mean, it didn't kill anybody or anything like that, but I'm telling you, but, you know, they said, no, we've had enough carnival rides in our life, if anyone going through that experience. And it was, you know, so much of it, too, it diffused, so no, I don't think anyone got splattered with chunks. So it was like, I'm sorry. So, you know, those little things happen. When I got the film back to LA, I sat in the cutting room with the editor. And when I got finished with my cut, Verna Fields, who edited Jaws and had then become a vice president at Universal, did have a go at it. She was in charge of post-production. What she did was she made an executive decision that there would be nothing in the surround sound until you got into the Funhouse. Until then, in and out, everything was in stereo, but only inside the Funhouse would things wrap around you. After the film was made, Universal wanted a paperback to come out to coincide with the release of the movie. And at first, Dean was using a pseudonym. And so he wrote a novelization of the film that actually he claimed later. I mean, I think it was like maybe even less than 10 years ago that, you know, in my travels from, you know, bookstores and airports, you know, I would see this thick Dean Koontz book, Funhouse, this novel that was either an expanded version of this paperback or more embellished or whatever. But for the first time, I picked it up in an airport, and I mean, really not that long ago, and started reading it. And I said, gee, wow, this is way cool. This is really good. And I mean, I obviously have copies of it. I just never, you know, I never read it because I considered it a merchandising piece. And, no, it was like the novel came from an adaptation of the movie rather than the other way around. I really like the film. It's one of those films that had a really nice peak at the end, like the end of Chainsaw, you know, where when you start getting as excited as they are on the screen, excited by jangled nerves. You get a nice dose of adrenaline out of that. And that kind of turns it into a fun, fair ride in a way, because that is thematic. I mean, it's what a carnival is supposed to do. So anyway, a long way of saying that I really like that movie.